guys, it's Miss Delcambre. Today's November 4th, and here's a rundown of what you need and what we did in class today. So you'll need your journal, glue, pencil, highlighter, and your notes for 8.3, which are 2 sets of notes on solving problems with proportions. We went over some parts of our builder today, our questions of the day, and did a homework check real quick. And now we're going to be going over our notes. So here is our screen. And this is the one that needs to be going first. The one with the date needs to go on the left. The one with a map needs to go in on the right. So if you give me one moment, let me fix the focus on that. Grab my stuff that I need. And let's get going. So using equivalent ratios to solve proportions. Now, proportions, today is 4/2020. Proportions is just a big fancy word that says two ratios or rates are equivalent. Just to show that something is equivalent is called a proportion. So something that's equivalent, like a rate and a ratio, are called a proportion. So like 1/3 and 2/6 are equivalent ratios. So therefore, 1/3 is equal to 6 is a proportion. All right? Now, here's our question. The PTA is ordering pizza for their next meeting. They plan to order 2 cheese pizzas for every 3 pepperoni pizzas they order. How many cheese pizzas will they order if they have 15 pepperoni? Okay? Now, what 2 things am I looking at? What am I comparing? Okay, I'm looking at pizzas. I'm looking at pepperoni pizzas, and I'm looking at cheese pizzas. All right? So in words, how are we going to set it up? Just like what we did with our models, our tables, our making things equivalent, doing unit rates. We set it up with words. So my words, I'm comparing cheese pizzas and pepperoni. All right. What do I know about cheese pizzas and pepperoni pizzas? Well, it says right here that there are 2 cheese pizzas for every 3 pepperoni pizzas. So that 2 goes with the cheese, the 3 goes with the pepperoni. Now there's one more piece of information. There's 15 pepperoni pizzas that they ordered. Okay, so that 15 is going to go down here next to pepperoni. So now I've got to think to myself, well, how do I go from 3 to 15? Well, 3 times 5 gives me 15. Okay, if I do to the bottom, I have to do the same to the top. So times 5, which would give me 10. So how many cheese pizzas will they order? They will order 10 cheese pizzas. So you will need 10 cheese pizzas. Okay, now I'm going to just draw a little line here because I'm going to show another way of how to do the exact same problem, just setting it up a different way and solving it. And it's called cross, multiply, and divide. Now, sometimes what happens is that this method doesn't always work. And what I mean is that okay, sometimes I can't multiply that number to get to the other number. It just doesn't work that way. I can't figure it out, or it's too complicated, or it just doesn't work for me. All right, so this way will work all the time. So I'm still going to set it up just like I do. So I had cheese pizzas and then pepperoni pizzas is equal to 2 to 3. Is equal to, well, 15 is going to go down here with the pepperoni, but then I'm going to put an X right here, meaning I don't know what that number is. So again, with cross, multiply, and divide, I'm going to cross multiply, kind of like, think about it like the butterfly method to figure out if they're equivalent. So 3 times X, well, that gives me 3X is equal to, well, 15 times 2 is 30. Now I have an unknown. I don't know what this number is. So 3 times something gives me 30. So how I can break that multiplication problem up is by dividing. So I can divide by each side by 3 hence divide. So then I'm left with x is equal to, well, 30 divided by 3 gives me 10. And do you see, I get the same answer both times. I get the same answer both times. So I still have 10 cheese pizzas that the PTA needs to get. Okay, let's look at our next one here. Using unit rates to solve proportions. So Miss Reynolds' sprinkler system has 9 stations that water all the parts of her front and backyard. Each station runs for an equal amount of time. If it takes 48 minutes for the first 4 stations to water, how long will it take to water all the parts of her lawn? Okay, so I need to figure out how long will it take to water her yard or water her lawn. So let's look for some clues. Well, I'm looking at stations, these watering stations, and how long it takes. So I know I'm looking at stations and minutes. So I'm going to set it up with my words first. So my minutes, and I'm going to make that ratio over my stations. Okay, some information I already know is that there's 48 minutes for 4 stations. But I need to get to 9. I need to get to 9 here. And that's what I'm saying. Sometimes I can't get to 9. 4 can't get to 9. But if I look really close, I can simplify that to a unit rate of 1. So 4 divided by 4 gives me 1. So 48 divided by 4 gives me 12. So that's my unit rate, 12 minutes for 1 station. Now I can figure out what 9 is. So I'll look and go, okay, well, I can go from 1 to 9 by multiplying by 9. And 12 times 9 gives me 108 minutes. So it will take me 108 minutes to water those 9 stations. Or if you're like me, you can say 1 hour and 48 minutes. So it takes 1 hour and 48 minutes to water those lawns. And I just broke it down like this because 60 minutes isn't an hour. If I take 60 away, I'm left with 48, and that would be how many minutes I have. Okay, so that way worked when I got to a unit rate. Okay, it worked. However, what if you're like, well, I don't know. I didn't see that I could divide 4 by 4 to get 1. So I'm going to cross multiply and divide. So again, I set it up with what I know. I have 48 minutes for 4 stations, and I need to find what 9 is going to be. Okay, and I'm going to put an X right here, meaning I don't know. I'm going to leave a variable there. So again, I'm going to cross multiply just like what we did to find if they're equivalent. And so 4 times X gives me 4X is equal to 9 times 48 gives me 432. So I just multiplied that and got that. So now 4 times what is going to give me that? 432. Well, I need to divide each side by 4. Okay, and 4 can go into 432, so 4 can go into 4 1 time, 4 can go into 3 0 times, and 4 can go into 32 8 times. So my answer would be 108. Same question, same information I had, same answer. I just went about it 2 different ways. Okay. A key thing when you're setting up like proportions and figuring out if it's equivalent, if you're given 3 pieces of information and you need to find the missing part. So this is a key thing to look at. If you're giving 3 parts of information and you're missing a part, you can set it up and still find your answer that way. Okay, so let's turn our page over. Now, a scale drawing is a real drawing of a real object that's proportionally smaller or larger than the real object. So if you think of like maps, that is scale drawn. If you think of monuments, first they had a miniaturized drawing of it, and then they created it, okay? Or say you have a picture of an atom, okay? But the picture of the atom is much bigger than the atom is, because you would have to look at it under a microscope. So that is what scale drawing is. It's a real object that's either really much bigger or smaller than the real object. Think of like if you have driven past Huntsville and you see the picture or the statue of Sam Houston. If you have gone to Mount Rushmore and you see the presidents, okay? So the president's faces on the mountain or on the monument is much bigger than what they would look like if they were still alive today. So that is a scale drawing, and also a scale factor. So the scale factor is a ratio that describes how much larger or smaller the scale drawing is to the real object. Okay, so that scale factor and scale drawing coincide. So a map is a scale drawing. The measurement on the map are in proportion to the actual distance. If 1 inch on a map equals 2 miles, actual distance, the scale factor is 2 miles for 1 inch. Okay, the distance between Sandersville and Lewiston is shown on the map. What is the actual distance between the towns? Okay, so I know I have 2.5 inches is what it is. That's my one piece of information. Well, if I come down here, my scale is 1 inch to 200 miles. That's my 2 other pieces. So 1, 2, 3 pieces of information. I'm missing the 4th. So I'm going to show 3 different ways that we can set this one up. Again, we can set it up with our words, what we know and what we don't know. So I'm comparing miles and inches. So my scale factor right here says that 1 inch is equal to 20 miles. But I need to figure out what 2.5 inches is. So I can sit there and go, okay, I can multiply this by 2.5 and multiply this by 2.5. And 20 times 2.5 gives me 50. So my answer would be 50 miles. That's one way you can solve it. Let's look at another way. So another way I'm going to do is make a table. This is kind of like what we did our last unit. Made a table. I'm going to draw a straight line out. It's going to be an easy table. Miles on top, inches on bottom. So I know for a fact 20 miles for 1 inch. Okay. Well, if I double that, I get 2 inches, and that would be 40 miles. Okay, so I'm getting close. I'm at 2 inches. I need a 1/2 inch to go. Well, if I half 1, I get half. If I half 20, I get 10. So now I have 2 and I have a half. So if I add those 2 together, I get 2.5. Then I add the top, which is 40 plus 10, which gives me 50. 50 and 50. Same answer, 2 different ways to show how I got it. All right, and then the third one that I'm going to do is again that cross multiply and divide. That will work. Let me come up. And again, I'm comparing my miles and my inches. I just abbreviated there. So again, I have 20 to 1. That doesn't change. And I need to find out what 2.5 is. Okay, I don't know what this is, so I'm giving it the variable of x. So again, I'm going to cross multiply. So 1 times x and 20 times 2.5. Well, 1 times x gives me x. 20 times 2.5. Well, if you think of 20 times 2.5, double 20, you get 40. Half 20, you get 10. 40 plus 10 gives me 50. So same answer each and every time. So the distance is 50 miles. Okay? So I'm just showing that there are several different ways to get to the same answer, and either way will work. Either way will work. And remember, if you get it done one way and you're struggling, you're like, I can't figure this out, I can't figure this out. This one, the cross, multiply, and divide, is always a trusty one that you can always go back to, and it most all of the time works. Most all the time it will work. So that will be it for today, guys. Your homework is on Google Classroom. It's 8.3 for my class. You're going to be doing the odds only, and that will be it. So tomorrow you will be working on iExcel. I have a meeting, so you will, if you are in my Zoom class, middle block and last block, you will be working on iExcel while I'm in my meeting. But I will have my computer up, so if you need to send me an email, if you're having any problems or you forget your login with iExcel, you can always shoot it to me and I will respond. Okay, so talk to you later. Have a great day, and I will see you on Friday. Bye.